There weren't many apothecaries left in the world, and the ones who remained guarded their secrets very strictly. So Professor Colt wouldn't believe Kevin if he said that he didn't know anything about making herbal pills, and she certainly wouldn't believe that he just made a lucky guess. "You're right, Professor, but I only know how to make a few kind of pills," Kevin replied modestly. In fact, there probably wasn't a single medicinal pill that he didn't know how to refine. He just needed a little more practice to get better at it. For some reason, Professor Colt was actually very relieved to hear Kevin's explanation. "It's really a good thing to know how to concoct a few kinds of pills. There's currently a great need for more apothecaries. I was lucky enough to join the union and get many years of training from them, but I only know how to produce 10 types of pills." Then Professor Colt sighed. "It's too bad that there are too few apothecaries around these days. The formulas are so hard to find and reproduce that some pills are worth a fortune. For something like the power pill or the augmentation pill, well, they're like miracle drugs." Kevin nearly laughed out loud when he heard her say that. He could easily make the herbal meds that Professor Colt found so unattainable. However, he still had some doubts. The Night King had told him that apothecaries used to have a lot of respect, but there was some kind of incident that had changed everything. "Professor Colt, can you tell me what exactly happened to all the apothecaries?" Kevin inquired. "Oh, that was a long time ago," she answered as she got a nostalgic look in her eyes. "I suppose I can tell you. My mentor always said that the herbal meds could lead to far greater development than anyone had ever imagined. But it's a difficult undertaking," she continued, "and we're only now finding out the similarity between herbal medications and the techniques that are being developed by modern science. There was an apothecary many years ago who actually stumbled on a way to move beyond what his colleagues were doing. The results of his methods were decades ahead of anyone else," she explained. "But should anyone be allowed to become that powerful?" Kevin asked her. The professor nodded in agreement. "You're right, Kevin. His plans were eventually exposed, and he drew a lot of attention from people who were afraid of how powerful he might become. It wasn't easy for them to defeat him, but when they did, they took out many more apothecaries who might also pose a threat. It had devastating effects on the field. Whoever was left went into hiding and destroyed any evidence of their formulas. Once everyone realized just how much had been lost, it was too late to recover," she explained sadly. "A lot of people are interested in developing themselves, but they don't appreciate the art and science involved. Even students at the School for the Healing Arts are just interested in it because it's something new. There isn't anyone who's very committed to it." The more Professor Colt spoke, the more regret Kevin could see in her eyes. Kevin nodded slightly because he understood the problem. From what he'd read in the sources he'd found, an herbal pill could be worth a fortune, but making one took both money and energy. People just didn't seem interested in making the effort to become an apothecary. If this continued, they'd eventually disappear. Suddenly, Professor Colt seemed to have thought of something. Her eyes lit up and she asked, "Kevin, I see that you have some talent. Do you want to participate in the apothecary contest?" "An apothecary contest?" Kevin repeated in amazement. "Yes. Because it's a very rare discipline, about 50 years ago it was decided to look for a way to try to build more interest. All of the major groups and organizations are involved in training their own apothecaries," she explained. "The top 3 finalists receive interesting awards. First place earns admission to the Herbalists Society, second place earns an advanced technique, and the third place winner only gets $750,000. Professor Colt told Kevin eagerly. "The Herbalists Society?" Kevin asked in surprise. He'd never heard of them before. "The Herbalists Society is an institution composed entirely of apothecaries. They serve the top levels of business and government. The leading organizations send their most outstanding students to study with them every year. It's an extraordinary honor. Anyone who studies with them is highly sought after when they complete their training," she told him excitedly. "Because of that, many people in the Herbalist Society have become wealthy and famous. Their careers really take off," Professor Colt gushed. "Every participant in the contest can bring along an assistant. It just so happens that I've been looking for a candidate for the past few days. If you want to participate, come along with me. Even if you don't win, you can learn a lot." "All right, Professor Colt. I'll go with you," Kevin agreed without thinking twice. What happened over the past few years had broadened Kevin's horizons. He used to think that as long as he had money, he'd be fine. But now that he'd seen the potential of herbal medicine and training, he wanted something more. Although Chicago was a pretty big city, the country was a whole lot bigger. If he wanted to have a future, he had to step onto a bigger stage. Plus, he needed to make good use of the books he'd been reading. Because of the accident in Professor Colt's class, Kevin's dinner with Penny had to be put off again. After saying goodbye to Professor Colt, Kevin headed home and went straight to the study to get ready for the apothecary contest. The first thing that he did was to make an herbal med to help Lily recover from her injuries. She recovered very quickly and was discharged from Downtown General to the amazement of the hospital staff. On the following weekend, Kevin was still half asleep when he smelled a delicate fragrance. Lily kissed his forehead and said, "Hubby, the sun is already up and you should be too." "Can't I sleep for 10 more minutes?" Kevin drawled as he struggled to open his eyes. "No, hurry up and get out of bed. If Mom finds out that you're still lazing around, she'll definitely scold you again," Lily said softly while leaning her head on Kevin's chest. After coming so close to death, Lily understood how important life was and wanted to savor every second with Kevin. Okay, if you say so," Kevin agreed as he got out of bed and got dressed. "It's rare that you don't have to go to work or school on such a nice day. Let's go out for a walk, okay?" Lily asked softly. "Yeah, let's do that. A walk would be nice," Kevin replied as he looked out the window at the view. Lily smiled as she walked up behind Kevin and wrapped her arms around his waist. "Kevin, when I was in the hospital and that man Spencer was so polite to you, did he actually call you the enforcer?" Kevin sighed and quietly said, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "I'll believe anything you say," Lily answered softly as she hugged him even more tightly. Kevin was finally ready to tell her everything.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.